going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Tonight, you guys already met him before, but now you're going to meet him again. We have JR Reed, and actually, if you guys didn't already know, me and JR Reed, let me fix this. I don't know why this is acting up right now. All right, cool. That should be clear. Clear as day. If you guys didn't already know, me and JR Reed are going to be co-hosting an Autism Special event on Monday, May 3rd at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we just wanted to come on today just to talk about what the event's going to be about, different things that JR has going on inside of his life, because he was here at the beginning of the month, but so many things have changed for JR. But as you guys already know, I always got to start off with a little story for you guys. And today is actually a little bit of a confession. So everybody don't all jump on me at once. But here's my little story for you guys. So it was about Saturday night, and I hit up my boy. I'm like, yo, I'm trying to ball. The weather's great. And, it was fantastic. Around that same time, Lauren Michaels Harris hosts a Slam the Hammer meeting where everybody comes together just to discuss different topics, how to become a better speaker, anything that you really want to talk about or whatever is the topic of discussion for that night. We all get together at around 8 o'clock. So, I'm giving my boy buckets at around 7:30. I'm hitting him with the shimmy fade. I'm clapping threes. You already know how we're doing it in the building. So Lauren calls me around 7:45 and we're just talking. He's like, I tell him already, ahead of time. I said, listen, Lauren, I'm going to be late. And, I'll be there, but I'll be late. So unfortunately, I got so caught up in the game and playing with my boy that I never really attended the meeting. And he knows about it. We're all cool. He no hard feelings or anything like that. But I realized one thing that I always talk about and I always preach, but at that time, I actually didn't follow through with it. So I wanted to confess that with you guys. Always be impeccable with your word. That is very, very important in what you do, because once you start to set that standard, sorry, Lou, thank you. I appreciate that. The wardrobe has been fired. Thank you, Lou. Optimist. I really love this shirt only because I think that's what I like to describe myself as an optimist. And it's Nike and it's blue, everything that I love all combined in the one sweatshirt. So I wanted to share with you guys, always be impeccable with your word. There was something, I could have phrased it a lot better. I could have said, hey, Lauren, listen, I might not be able to make it tonight. Is there any way that this show is going to be pre-recorded so I can go back to watch it? When you start to become impeccable with your word and you're holding yourself at that higher standard and you achieve those goals, it's just going to snowball effect with that positive momentum. And you'll start to really see positive changes in your life. And like I always say, I'm not saying all of this stuff just to sound cool, sound like I know what I'm talking about, but it's because it's actually the truth. Every thought and every word that comes out of your mouth has very powerful energy, and it sends that into the universe, and that's what you receive more of. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, that I'm not perfect, and I want to be honest with you guys as much as possible. So always remember to be impeccable with your word. And one more thing before we bring JR Reed to talk about our special. Oop, I just spit a little bit. I hope you guys didn't see that. And if you did, I don't care, whatever. This is my show. So I always got to go back to the book. So here it is. Life's Little Instruction Book, 511 Suggestions, Observations, and Reminders on How to Live a Happy and Rewarding Life. This book is really amazing. I know I already told you guys the story behind the book. First and foremost, I have to bring it on every week. It always matches whatever we're talking about in the topic. And the history behind this book is very supernatural is the word that I want to use, but you never, for the people that don't believe in that, it was definitely a higher power in the way that I got this book. So here we are. There's actually two of them that I want to cover today. Here it is. Don't Rain on Other People's Parades, number 468. And number 470 is Don't Interrupt. So right here, don't rain on other people's parades. Oh, my background went away for a little bit, but it came right back. So make sure if somebody's sharing great news with you, always be supportive, because your time will come. And when you show that appreciation and gratitude for other people, That's how you know you are going to receive that 10, it may be 10 times more, it may be the same, it may be a little less. It doesn't matter. When you show that appreciation for other people, that's when you will start to receive those opportunities as well, because it shows that you're not a jealous person and that you're operating within good intentions. And if somebody is coming to you with great news and they trust you that much in order to share that with you, that you should be honored. That they come to you because they want that positive energy to be amplified that much more. And the other tip, like I said, number 470, is don't interrupt. If you guys don't already know, a lot of people tell on themselves if you just listen to what they say and the different clues that they give away. If there's some type of information that you're trying to extract out of somebody, ask a few preliminary questions first, but let them do the most of the talking and the bulk of the talking. I actually heard another quote the other day that the smartest person I can't even speak. The smartest person in the room isn't the one that speaks the loudest. It's not even the person that speaks first. It's usually the one that speaks the least. And that's because when you're confident in what you know and what your abilities are, you don't have to go around and yap to really prove to everybody what you have to offer. And another thing about speaking last and don't interrupt anybody is you start to listen to all these different perspectives. And one of the perspectives may definitely change your mind, or you can add to somebody's point in order to really sound like, you know what you're talking about. And you're really not, you're not stepping on anybody's toes. So those are the two things that I always have to bring to you guys. My man JR has been patiently waiting to come on the show. Thank you again, JR. Even before you come on the show, I just want to say, it's always a pleasure having you. And you're actually the first person in Weekly Dose of Dano history to have a repeat show and to have a repeat episode. So thank you again for that. And JR, stop fixing your hat, man. It's time to get on the show. JR, how's it going, brother?
What's up? No, I just got to say that, first off, I'm honored to be the only repeat. And I love the story about balling with your boys and dumping buckets. But I wasn't much of a basketball player, so I played ice hockey. And so we used to just, take it up the ice and dump the biscuit in the basket.
That's what I'm talking about. Hockey's a really fun sport. It's actually one of my favorites as well. There was something that we forgot last time. I mean, there's a plethora of different topics we could have covered, but there was one that you told me specifically. And I'm going to ask it right now before we get into everything, because, I feel kind of bad that we didn't ask it last time. Do you have any stories connected with Wayne Gretzky by chance?
I do, as a matter of fact. I interviewed him 3 times. All when he was member of the Phoenix Coyotes as a coach and as an owner. Hello, Nancy. By the way, speaking of hockey, I coached Nancy's daughter, who I nicknamed D-Mac, for quite a few seasons. She went from being a kind of rough skater to now playing high school hockey on one of the top teams in California.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, big shout out to D-Mac and to Nancy.
And to Christopher Casson as well. He's actually going to be one of the panelists that's going to be on the show on Monday, May 3rd, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Chris, I'm actually really excited because we've talked from time to time, but this is going to be the first time where I actually get an in-depth look of what it's like to live with autism. So, JR, my guy, has there been anything new in this month that you would like to share with everybody?
Well, considering that my interview with you at the beginning of the month was between radio, web TV, and podcast, number 2 of what was supposed to be 19, and this is now number 21 of what is going to be 23. Yeah, a lot's happened.
Amazing.
I've gotten to spread the message a lot, and when I come on and do these things, it's not about me. Can you pass the cup over, please? I'm thirsty.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, 21 or 23. When I come on, it's really not about me at all. It's about the message of autism and autism awareness and acceptance and diversity and all that. And if I could do just one or two little things to help somebody, then the whole thing was worth it.
100%.
Just like you, Dano, I'm not in it for the fame or the glory. I'm in it so that people like Christopher and Lyric and Tony and my big sister from Australia, Auntie Shaza, who can all live great lives and more fulfilling lives.
I agree with that 100%. Just the fact that you said it's not about the fame. When you change one person's life, and I've had the blessing to be able for people to come to me, personally and in private, to say, like, listen, like, please keep doing what you're doing. You've actually saved my life, or a friend that I know, because I showed them that episode. There's really no feeling like it, JR. And I know you've experienced this before, just because we have such a powerful message. But is there anything that you can really equate that to? I really don't think so.
I think the only thing that I can equate that to is taking a group of 6 kids that were on the spectrum. They were my kind of core group of ice hockey players that I coached for a few years. And I pulled them all from recreational teams where they weren't meshing with their coaches because they couldn't understand the way the coaches were explaining the drills and the skills to them. And I took them and could speak in a way that they could understand. And the last 2 seasons, winning championships with a group of 6 autistic kids, and then the rest of the kids just being neurotypical kids, was just awesome. And also, just watching some of my hockey players that I really miss, like DMAC, when I moved from California, seeing how they went from, some rough, skilled players to becoming really good hockey players, that made me feel really good, for them, not so much for me.
Yeah, and that's something that only you can experience along with the team, and I can only imagine that when you held up the cup, that was something that's really, really incredible. So, JR, what were you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say, well, the other moment too was a guy you might know from Jersey, Scott Niedermeyer. Does his name sound familiar?
100%, of course.
Scott Niedermeyer won a Stanley Cup with the New Jersey Devils and played against his brother on the Ducks for that Stanley Cup in 2002. Then in 2007, he won the Stanley Cup while playing for the Ducks along with his brother. And then he started coaching for the Ducks. A few years later, he was on the ice with some of the injured players from the Anaheim Ducks. And my team was going out, getting ready to play a championship game. And I went to the door of the ice and I called Scott over and I asked him if he could come to the locker room for a couple of minutes when he was done with his practice with the NHL players. And for him to come in, and this guy's won 3 Stanley Cups and was at the top of his game when he retired. And for him to come in and talk to those 9 and 10-year-olds and just give them a boost, man, they went on the ice and kicked some ice.
That's what I'm talking about. Were you nervous when you went to go up to him and ask him to
no,
speak?
Because I talked, because he'd been on the Ducks for so many seasons, and I covered the NHL specifically for the Anaheim Ducks for 13 years. I talked to Scott probably 100 times before that.
Oh, okay. And that's amazing that you had that connection and really gave the players the boost that they needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a really obvious question, but it may not be obvious to everybody else. What is going on with the background? Where are you at today?
I am. Oh, good. So you notice Einstein is missing.
Yeah. He's not sticking his tongue out.
I postponed date night a half hour tonight for you, Dano, because you're my boy.
I appreciate
it. I am at the home of a beautiful and lovely woman sitting on her couch, and we're having date night after we get done here.
Well, I just want to say to the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to that beautiful and lucky woman. What's her name?
Sarah Marie.
Sarah Marie, thank you so much for postponing that. It really means a lot for JR to come on the show. And just the fact that you actually found somebody that you want to be with is absolutely amazing. Has that been, hard for you to find?
Actually, Dan, that's a great question. It has, because so many people are either not willing, not able to, or just don't want to understand what it is to be a person on the spectrum with their little quirks and their intricacies and their whatnot. And, I find quite often that when I'm, starting to meet somebody and we're talking and texting and whatever, when they hear the word autism or autistic, ghost. Never hear from them again. Sarah Marie heard autism and autistic, not a problem. The special the thing that I did on Monday, she not only shared with her family, but also with her friends, which, people I've dated in the past just haven't even been into the advocacy or the autism or anything. So for her to do that means that she is such an accepting, caring person that I'm digging.
That's what I'm talking about.
By the way, that Oscar's head that just tail.
Yeah. And that's what would you consider him? Is that like your service dog?
No, that's her wiener dog.
Duh, I forgot. You're not home. Oh.
Home.
Yeah, I forgot. See, look, you already got me all tripped up over here.
Although I could have a service dog here with me, but I'm so comfortable right now that I don't need my service dog with me.
Yeah, and that's a level of trust that it seems like you two have adopted within each other, and that's something, man. You really don't find that everywhere. So I'm wishing the best for you guys, man.
So far, so good, and one day at a time,
That's what I'm talking about. Now, JR, this event on Monday, this is kind of the first one that I'm ever hosting. Have you ever hosted an Autism Special?
Yeah, we did. I did one actually week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Lyric and I co-hosted it on differentbrains.org.
Amazing. All right, so that's a relief for me to know, just because I know that I have some help, and I have help from one of the best advocates in the world, JR Reed. Come on, man. You guys better be showing some hearts, some loves right on that Facebook Live for JR Reed, because JR, you really are the man, and I just want to say thank you so much for all the words and everything. Seriously, that you let me in on. And
thank you for the kind words. But if I'm one of the best advocates in the world, then your world must be pretty small.
Yeah,
there are people that are a lot better at this than I am. But you know what? I do what I can. I'm happy with what I do, so it's all good.
Let me ask you a question. Do they have a purple chin?
No, they do not.
Then that's what I thought. Then you're one of the top ones. Now, JR,
there is one that I love. She's an autism researcher from Australia, and she does not like shoes. And there's a thing with people that are on the spectrum. Sometimes they have problems with textures of clothing. And for her name is Jack Den Houting, and she does not like things on her feet. So when she goes on stage to speak, she is barefoot.
Wow.
So I got a purple chin, but she's got bare feet. So,
Yeah. So, all right, we'll include her in there just to make her feel better. But JR, I know you're the man, just because I've, just the conversations that we've had. So I want to talk about Monday. Okay. Now, let's say if, somebody's watching and they've never seen a single episode, or they don't know any small detail about living with autism. What are some of the key points that we hope to discuss that somebody takes with them after the special?
What it's like to live a day in the life of someone who is on the spectrum. Because, the first special we did at the beginning of the month, we scratched the surface of what autism is. We talked about the basics. Now we're going to talk about what it's really like in the workplace, bullying that we're subjected to as kids and adults, masking, which is us really pretending that we don't have certain things that we're not so strong at, or trying to project that we're not quirky.
Yeah, 100%. And those are some of the things that, I've been learning just from being behind the scenes and talking with the panelists. And let me tell you, these panelists that we have coming on that you've handpicked, really, even in that small, what was it, 30 minutes that we had that conversation for, it really blew my mind, because it really changes the stigma of what I thought autism could be. But now it's just like, it really defines a new face and it paints a new picture. And when I think of somebody that has autism, there's really no limits to what I think that they can do now. And I don't really see it as a disability or anything like that. It's a gift. Yeah, it's a gift.
Can I share a little story with you?
Yeah, of course.
It's autism isn't a disability as much as our surroundings disable us.
Mm-hmm.
And let me explain what I mean. I'm not a big fan of huge crowds, loud noise, and bright lights. So if I were to go to a shopping mall around Christmas, I would be disabled by the environment. Does that make sense?
100%. That's one of the reasons why you moved, right?
Right. But if I were to go to that same shopping mall in the middle of March, early in the morning, later, when it's not so crowded, not so noisy, I still be autistic, but the environment wouldn't disable me like it would at other times.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember you sharing the story about all the pucks hitting the boards, and during the intermissions, you would have to take a step outside. So yeah, I think
13 years,
I would attest to your story.
For 13 years, every NHL game that I covered, I had to go outside to just get into some quiet and clear that sensory overload out. I mean, basically clear the cache, if you will, and then go back in and do it all over again.
Yeah, and that's just, it's really a testament to the type of person that you are, that you would subject yourself to all of that sensory overload just to help these kids out and to really push them to be the best that they can be.
No. That was the NHL games when there's 18,000 screaming people in the crowd.
Okay.
When I recreational or travel or high school where there's a couple of hundred people in the crowd, that's not so bad.
Okay.
Even though some were yelling at me.
Oh, well, whatever. You just eventually block all that out, right? You know how to tune that out.
Hey, come on, coach. What are you doing?
Yeah. So how did you deal with the hecklers during that time?
I the same way I always do. I just laugh it off.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're not getting paid. I am.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I understand that, and that's like I said, it's just really a testament to your character of the different things that you've overcome. And another question that I want to ask about Monday is, how did you hand select this panel?
Okay, well, let's start with Tony, because she's the first one I met. 3 years ago, I was a guest on a podcast, the Eli Winfrey Show, and Tony Boucher, who is autistic and a therapist from South Carolina, and she works with people on the spectrum. She's the co-host of that show, and I've been on that show a couple of times, and we became friends and kept in contact over the years, and I've read her book, and she's just an awesome person. So I knew that she was the go-to person for bullying. Lyric, I've known for a couple years. If you are on social media and you have anything to do with autism or neurodiversity, you will know Lyric as the neurodivergent rebel. Got over 100,000 social media followers between her platforms. So she's just very well known and well spoken and knows just a ton. And my Auntie Shazza, Sharon Carmelo, is my Australian big sister. She goes by Auntie Shazza. That's how she's known in Australia. She's definitely the thunder from down under. And she brings it. She works with teens and tweens on the spectrum. Not so much with their autism, but with their coexisting conditions like anxiety, depression, things like that. ADHD, they'll come with it. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Christopher Casson. I mean, what needs to be said about Christopher? Amazing photographer, great podcaster, finalist for the next Impactor. Mm-hmm. He doesn't speak as quickly as I do, but man, what he says is so powerful. Mm-hmm. And he's just got a message for people. And I just knew I had to have Christopher, because Christopher shows what it is to be a person living on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he's got that totally cool hair.
Yeah, I'm jealous of it. I wish that I had that. Maybe he can cut a few locks off and give it to me too.
Yeah. Locks of love.
Yeah. And man, I just want to say, with this special going on, I've learned so much in the meantime.
Yeah, I know. I tried really hard not to laugh.
Yeah, I'll do it for you. Yeah, the amount of stuff.
Sarah Maria's too.
One more time?
Sarah Maria's too.
Yeah, you got to say that one more time.
Sarah Maria's laughing as well.
Oh, all right. Cool. Is she there?
She's not. You're not going to see her.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to say thank you again for extending that date night for me, and it really does mean a lot for you guys, or for everybody to be able to do that. So actually, right now we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about more about Monday, some of the things that you have lined up, and we're just going to keep it flowing, and we're going to keep it grooving. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back after this word from our commercial break. Welcome back, everybody. That was just a quick word from our sponsors, and I would like to thank the sponsors again for hosting the show and to really, spread their message through my platform, and I'm just so grateful for that. So, JR, what are you sipping on right now, brother?
Water.
Water? Okay. I was going to say, are you a drinker at all?
A little bit. Not a ton, but yes, I do drink. There is a bottle of Fireball in my freezer.
Wow, man. JR, we got to upgrade you, man. Fireball is so nasty. I've had bad experiences off of it. That's the only.
You remember that I'm from California, 2 hours from Mexico, so my go-to can be tequila.
Okay, yeah, I can rock with that. That makes more sense. I feel like that's your style too.
Yeah.
So, JR, is there any significance? And this is a question totally out of left field, but you always wear that hat. Where did you tell us the origin story with the hat?
This is the second one. This is version 2.0 of the exact same one, because
okay.
the first I had for so long that it fell apart, and I've actually got pictures of. I used to wear it coaching my high school team and my travel teams and my recreational teams. I just saw it in the store one day and I loved it and I tried it on and it's just been my thing.
Yeah, the rest is history. I love it. Well, we better see that hat on the special. And
yeah, we'll see. If not, I might be rocking a blue one, but you know.
all right. Well, hey, I love the surprise. Anything that you can do to keep people on the edge of their seat and wanting more, then that's what we got to do. You know. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. One of the things that I guess I can tell you straight up is that I'm nervous about is I don't want to use the wrong terminology. So for anybody watching and, they're going to take this with them on their day to day, is it wrong to say like an autistic person or should you say a person living with autism?
People first language is what they call it. And the people first language says you should say I have autism or they have autism until either they tell you differently or somehow that they want to be called something differently. Mm-hmm. My personal feeling is I do address people that way and talk to them that way until I find out otherwise. For myself specifically, I prefer I'm autistic because in my weird, mixed up, differently wired brain, having autism to me relates to having cancer, having diabetes, something that defines my life. Mm-hmm. I have to take my insulin at this time every day or I will die. Being autistic is just part of my life. Mm-hmm. Just like my purple goatee is part of my life. Just like, you can't see it, the Asperger's word tattooed across my forearm is part of my life. Just like my service dog is part of my life.
Yeah.
Autism doesn't define me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I appreciate that answer. Just so like now I know what to say and how to speak to somebody. And everybody gets offended nowadays, unfortunately.
Trust me. You know what? I'll tell you this story right straight up. I recorded the first podcast. I've got a new podcast coming in late May. It'll be hosted on differentbrains.org. It's called Examining Neurodiversity, and my co-host is Lyric Holmans. Mm-hmm. Lyric is non-binary, prefers the pronouns they, them, and I dropped a she once or twice yesterday during the show. Did not offend her, but will probably offend some of her social media followers. Mm-hmm. Immediately after recording the show, I went on Twitter and said, hey, I did this. I screwed up. It wasn't on purpose. It wasn't right. But hey, I'm owning it. I did it.
Did you receive any?
I'll do it again. I'll do it again when the podcast drops in late May.
Yeah.
But you know what? Don't worry about it. We all slip up from time to time. Nobody ever always says the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
I agree with that. It's all good.
Yeah. So and I think everybody understands that we're coming from good places anyway with the stuff we're going to be talking about too. So I just got to be ready for it. And there's one term that even I know what it means faintly, but I want you to explain it a little bit more in depth. What does neurodivergent exactly mean?
Neurodivergent means, okay, let me start off with neurotypical. Okay. Neurotypical means to have a neurologically typical brain. Mm-hmm. Okay. To be neurodivergent is to have a brain that is divergent from the neurologically typical brain. Mm-hmm. Autism is considered the main part of being neurodivergent, but there's also ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, bipolar. Some professionals will include schizophrenia in there. But it basically means to have a brain that's wired a little bit differently from the rest of the population.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for explaining that. Just because, when you first hear that term, it might be like a little scary and you might not know what it means exactly. You might be a little confused, but JR just did that all for us right now. And people don't know what they don't know. And that's a very true statement as well. People don't know what they don't know. And I feel like nowadays it's the people that don't know anything are the loudest ones in the room. And that's when you really start to make a fool out of yourself. I think it's very important if you don't really know that much about a topic, ask somebody who does. There's really nothing wrong with that. You're never going to get made fun of by somebody who knows more than you or is more successful than you. Somebody that's at a higher level than where you are, where you want to be. Those are the type of the people that they want to help. Like I can tell you from experience when it comes to being in the gym. You know, if I'm lifting 315 and I see somebody that's next to me lifting 400, that person's not going to laugh at me just because I'm lifting less. They're going to want to help. It's the people that are doing worse than you and that are lifting 100 pounds that look at you and then they start to really critique you. So, JR, I think that's why this is going to be so great of a special, because you have that expertise. And, you know, I'm really taking the perspective of a student in all of this, as well as a co-host. But I'm really excited to learn more and more about the in-depth details that everybody has to offer on this. Now, do you think...
Daniel, can I tell you a quick story about what you were just saying first?
Yeah, of course.
What you were just saying about, you know, the loudest people in the room sometimes being the ones that are the most ignorant. I was in an autism Facebook group for adults, and I mentioned that I was going to be doing this thing last Monday. And it was called Before Autism Was a Thing, and it was about growing up. It was 13 years after I graduated high school before they started diagnosing autism. And I mentioned, you know, that the special was going to be on and this and that. And somebody replied, "You don't know what you're talking about. Autism's been around for 20 years." And I responded, "You're right. Autism's been around for 27 years. Oh, by the way, I graduated 37 years ago." So you know, it's just, you know, one of those, you have the facts before you make a comment.
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of people just feel the need to be heard. And even if it's heard for the right or wrong reasons, as long as they have that, you know, here, like them being heard, that's all the satisfaction that they need in the world. And, you know, it's really not good, because then you'll spread that misinformation to everybody else and not going forward. And that's a perfect segue into one of the top questions that when I first saw it, I saw everybody shaking their head no. There was on the last special, autismspeaks.org. And then Lauren says, yeah, well, you know, this is the perfect website to go to. And I see everybody doing this. And I'm sitting here like, okay, what's so bad about autismspeaks.org? Would you be able to shed some light on that?
I would. Most people on the spectrum are not big fans of Autism Speaks for the simple reason, and that it was founded by two grandparents who are looking for a cure for their grandson. Grandchild. I'm pretty sure it was a son, but grandchild, to be safe. Which at the time wasn't such a big deal because nobody really knew what caused autism. Now we know it's genetic. There is no cure. But they've continued to funnel money into finding a cure. They spent many, many years without a board member on the spectrum. So that's why a lot of people are not fans of throwing their money towards an organization that is going to continue to look for a cure for something that A, is not a disease, and B, does not have a cure. Now, are they totally evil? Absolutely not. There are some good things they do. There are some good messages they spread. But unfortunately, they're most known for finding a cure or looking for a cure.
And there's no such thing as a cure. Yeah, so I mean, I want everybody, the only reason I repeated that is so everybody can really catch what you just said, just in case it went over their head.
Here's the way I've heard it best. People for a lot of years spoke about, Jenny McCarthy was the biggest spokesperson for anti-vaccines. She has an autistic child. She believed that vaccines caused her child's autism. Now we know again that it's genetics, and Lyric has said it many times. Vaccines don't cause autism. Sex causes autism. I mean, it's genetic. You're born that way.
Yeah.
You know, when I came out of my mom, I was autistic. When I go into the ground, I'll be autistic.
Yeah. So
I'll be autistic when I take my last breath. Maybe not when I go into the ground. But.
Yeah. No, and that's something that, you know, that's you just opened a new perspective for me, because, you know, when I heard your story that you were diagnosed late, there's no way that these symptoms can be developed at a later age, right?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, through school. I mean, best example I have is algebra in high school. I got the answers right, but I showed the work in a different way than the teacher taught it, because my brain processed the formulas differently. Still came up with the same answer, but I couldn't show it right. Well, the teacher didn't like me because I didn't just sit down and take it. So I ended up with D minuses in both my algebra classes just so he wouldn't have me back another year. He actually, in front of the class one time, accused me of cheating off the student next to me. And I just looked at him and said, but he's getting C minuses and I'm getting all the answers right. How am I cheating off of this person? There was no answer for that.
Yeah, and that's one of the hardships that you had to deal with going through school. Would you say, what was the biggest hardship for you going to school growing up?
Teachers. Starting in 5th grade, I started being called weird, stupid, and lazy by teachers. I was none of those three, though, maybe lazy from time to time, but then, hey, who was it, right? Yeah. I was not stupid. I just was not being taught in the way that my brain needed to be taught. And that was the big thing. Yeah. So now we know that there are different ways to teach, different ways to learn. And now through special education, they're doing a better job of teaching kids in the way that they need to learn.
Yeah, I can see that and I can appreciate that too.
And I have a sensory processing issue. I took a couple of college classes a year ago. If I were to sit and listen and take notes as the teacher was doing his lecture, I'd miss half the lecture. Well, now that there's special education and Americans with Disabilities Act and all that good stuff, I had accommodations when I was in college this last year. They loaned me a small iPad that had Skype and Messenger preloaded onto it, and they had my school schedule, and there was a transcribing service that was logged on at the same time I was. All I did was sit in the front row, open up my iPad, open up Skype, and they would listen to the lecture through Skype, and 12 hours later, I'd have a transcription of everything the teacher said.
Oh, wow.
Now, that was great for me because, again, had I tried to take traditional notes, I would have missed half of what he said.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. Did you really actually go back to go look at those transcripts?
Oh, I absolutely did. Those were key for me before tests. That and, when the teachers would go over what they were going to have on the test, having that in the transcription as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I was waving because I wanted to say hi to Sherry McQueen. Sherry's always everywhere. And everywhere that I'm at, when I go in, I see Sherry right there at every event, always supporting. So I wanted to say hello to Sherry, give her a special shout out. You too, JR. How do you find the time to support everybody?
Work late, and just work, around these other events. Yeah. These things are important to me because even though I know a lot about autism and neurodiversity, I learn something every time I watch somebody else speak. I find another way to explain it, or I learn something that I didn't know. I find out about more research, or I find a different way of saying things.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you 100%. That's why I really do like to do my due diligence when it comes to reading, when it comes to research. And I'm going to have to prepare a lot for this event on Monday, but I'm really looking forward to it. And now that I really see the different possibilities of people living with autism and the different ranges that they have, it's actually really exciting to get to learn and get to know about, because you never know who might be in your life that doesn't know that they are, but when you start to see the different signs, you can see it right off the bat. Yep. That's something that you can do as well, right? Could you see somebody and just spend a few minutes with them?
Sometimes I can. I mean, I know what some of the traits are to look for. Lack of eye contact, that the sensory processing. Like you might ask me a question, and I liken our brains to computers. You know, you'll ask me a question, and my brain has to go find the file. Well, it may take 15, 20 seconds to find the file. That doesn't mean I'm stupid. That doesn't mean I'm lying or I don't know the answer. It just means I have to find that file, or that person has to find that file in their brain.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting way to put it. And there was another interesting connection that you made that you already know what I'm going to say. Go ahead, say it.
We are like Macs in a PC world.
Yeah.
Have a different operating system, but at the end of the day, we all still get the job done.
Yeah, and I love that because it really puts into perspective for somebody who doesn't know much about it, how it works. Now, JR, there's a few different symbols when it comes to, autism representations. Oh, what was that? What was that chuckle about?
I was just clearing my throat.
All right.
Just take a little sip of water to clear my throat here.
Now, is there anything, in your opinion, do you think that there should be a change from the puzzle pieces to the infinity sign? Is
strictly my personal opinion. Okay.
That's disclaimer.
I want to disclaim that. And sometimes I make up words. I'm going to disclaim that right now. Strictly my opinion. The puzzle piece came around from an organization that we've previously spoken of when the whole thing was a puzzle. At the time the puzzle piece came out, it was a perfectly good representation of autism. They didn't know a whole lot about it. To me, the puzzle piece now represents that we have to fit perfectly into a certain mold or into a certain shape. Well, guess what? We don't. And the rainbow colored infinity loop has become a very popular symbol for autism as well. Love the infinity loop, not so big on the rainbow color, because the LGBTQIA+, I think that's what I think we're at the end of the letters now, community has had that they started it, they've had it for so many years. Everybody knows the rainbow symbol is representing that community. Well, we're smart people, on the spectrum. We can certainly do better than stealing somebody else's idea.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with an infinity loop with a different color?
Yeah, and
but that's just me.
Yeah, maybe they should make it purple, just like your beard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It would match perfectly. Would you change the color if they make it a new color? Would you change the color of your beard?
Nope.
No, that's just true to you, huh?
It's me.
Yeah, I love it.
One stat we didn't get into on the first special that I think you would find very interesting, when you were talking earlier about you never really know who in your life is autistic. Just take a guess. How many people in the United States, like one in how many, are on the spectrum?
1 in 5.
Really? It's 1 in 54. It's 1 in 50.
All right. Well, you said take a guess. You didn't say it had to be reasonable.
No, 1 in 54 people in the United States are on the spectrum. Now, that does not include their parents, their siblings, their significant others, their close family friends, cousins, whatever. So think about adding all those people in. That many people are connected to autism somehow.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why I think people don't pay too much attention to it is because they may not think it directly affects them or that they're that closely related to somebody that they know. But if it's not apparent right in their face immediately, then I just feel like people will start to forget or they overlook the information that they need in order to understand somebody that they may run into with autism. And I also think that it has like a kind of a certain stigma of people that when they hear autism, they have this certain idea of what it may be.
Well, that's another good point, and something that I'm going to try to get us to fit in on Monday. And if not, we'll do maybe another special. The way autism is portrayed in the media is not the best always. one of my personal favorites is the TV show Atypical. They did a great job of writing that show. I'm a big comic book nerd, so I'm a fan of Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
And when they did season 2 of the Umbrella Academy, they had a nonverbal autistic 10-year-old boy. Mm-hmm. Well, the writer of that series, TV series, not Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance, who's the writer of the comic books, by the way. Mm-hmm. But the writer of the TV show had a nonverbal autistic family member in his life. So they were able to write from a really great perspective. Mm-hmm. And I think what the problem is when they're writing autistic characters in TV shows and movies, they are not getting people, well, like myself, that are a writer and are autistic, or somebody else, but somebody with a great autistic perspective to chime in and lend a voice to that character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and who knows? Maybe somebody might come to you after watching this special, and you'll be able to write. Is that something that you would ever consider doing?
Not weirdjustautistic.com. There is a contact page, and please use it, and I will respond immediately.
There it is. So you guys here, are there any connectors that you want everybody to know where they can reach you at?
You know what? That's actually the best one, because at the bottom of every page is sign up for the newsletter and all my social media links. So that's really the best place to go. There's now an FAQ page about autism. Mm-hmm. The first one being, is autism contagious? No, it is not. Yeah. I've been asked that question at least a half a dozen times.
Seriously?
Can I catch autism from somebody?
Oh, God.
No.
All right. Yeah, at least I wasn't that bad. I'll admit that. I wasn't that bad. JR, there's one question this is an extremely great question that I want to know the answer to as well. JR, what is your superpower?
Autism is my superpower. Autism, and thank you, Jeanette, for making sure Dano saw that and asked it. Autism is my superpower because it makes me who I am. Mm-hmm. My brain processes things very quickly. I can see a situation, and have you seen the movie Infinity War? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, of course.
The scene where Doctor Strange is sitting there and his head's moving around and he's calculating the 14 million whatever possibilities of the world ending.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like inside my brain sometimes. I see something and I figure out, okay, this is going to work. That's not going to work. Well, people ask me if I'm a pessimist or an optimist, and I say I'm more an optimist, but I'm a realist. In that I look at, just because I say something doesn't, I know.
Yeah, just got to throw that. Yeah.
But when I say that I think that something won't work or an idea won't work, I'm not saying it won't work, let's scrap the plan. I'm saying this isn't going to work, let's figure out something that might.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I appreciate that. And JR, thank you so much for sharing this hour with everybody.
Oh, thank you.
We only have a few minutes left, and I know this special is going to be through the Weekly Dose of Dano TV platform on Monday, May 3rd at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But once this special is over, JR, what are some of the things in the future that you have planned or that you hope to be able within the next year? What do you hope to see yourself doing?
Well, I hope to be able to, once, cities start lifting mask bans and, we can get back to more life as normal, doing maybe a couple of TEDx talks, speaking live more, and not just, sitting on a couch, which, by the way, is pretty cool. But I also, when I speak, I like to engage with the audience. I tell them to raise their hand, or stretch, or, say something or whatever. So I like seeing the look on their face if they're getting what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And I can't do it this way. I can see if you get it.
Yeah.
I can't see if everybody else gets it.
Yeah.
So, to do that, of course, the podcast I'm launching on Different Brains with Lyric at the end of May. I've been thinking about the special we're doing on Monday, and maybe on my Not Weird Just Autistic Facebook page doing a every couple of months, something similar, still keeping the 24 hours in the real world of autism. But for example, I was thinking about the next one being health. We've got Jimmy Clare, the fitness guy. I have a person that I know, Brenda Grund, who is out of the Netherlands, who works specifically with autistic teen and young adult girls who have eating disorders. So finding different things related to health and autism, and then coming up with a different topic. But I want to delve deeper into what it really means to be an autistic person, and not just, these are the signs to look for. This is autism, that kind of stuff. I want it to be real life experience.
Yeah, and I appreciate that too, just because that's the type of person that I am. Like, I don't care about the fluff. I don't care about what you think. Like, I want to know deep at the root of what it is to like live with autism, and just other things in general as well.
Well, but what you're calling the fluff is important to know, but because it's the basics of autism. But so many people are spreading that message.
Yeah.
Why do I want to be one of 1,000 voices?
Yeah.
When I can talk about the deeper issues, the real issues.
Yeah. So people,
the day to day.
Yeah. So Christopher Caston's going to be on. Another great panelist. People focus on the autism label and not the person behind it. Boom! It's exactly like you said, JR. Christopher may not, talk too much, but when he does say something, it is super, super powerful. So I kind of want to end it on that note. Unfortunately, our hour is up. It really did fly by. I want to say thank you again, JR. Thank you again to, I'm going to call her your significant other, for extending it and pushing back the your date night. And I really do appreciate it. For everybody, please remember that the special 24 hours in the real world of autism is going to be broadcasted live, streamed live on Weekly Dose of Dano TV, the platform. You can find that on E360, Facebook, YouTube, things like that. And that's going to be Monday at 5 p.m. Monday, May 3rd, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
One thing, I set up an event on the Not Weird Just Autistic Facebook page, which is facebook.com/notweirdjustautistic. So there's an actual event there that you can take and share with your friends and spread the word.
Definitely. So everybody keep an eye out for the promo video and keep an eye out for the event link to that. And thank you, JR, again. Thank you, everybody, for spending this week with us. Come back next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And we have a wonderful, wonderful guest coming. And I'm super excited to introduce you all to them. So, JR, thank you again for everything, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys, everybody. Have a great night. And I'll see you next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV.